Here at BC Women's, we run meetings very sternly and efficiently and not always the most friendly because everyone's busy. Statistically, we know that Aboriginal women suffer from heart disease and all the risk factors for heart disease.
Primary prevention services for heart disease looks really wonderful on paper, but the actual application of it, there's been gaps and barriers, and women aren't necessarily always hearing the messages.
And then to walk into a not welcome environment, it just makes your spirit go down.
With my GP, she just writes me a prescription.
It's all great to have a program here, but those women aren't going to come see me here. And I want to get out in the community and I want to figure out how to engage those women.
There was an agency that came in and they talked to the elders via flip chart and graphs and statistics, and I found myself wanting to get out of there because, you know, you can only take so much of a pointer to a flip chart.
What we had decided on, and it was at Sharon's suggestion at the Pacific Association of First Nations Women, was to look at some of the leaders in the community who were struggling themselves with some of their heart health outcomes, but also in charge of teaching others and leading by example. And I thought that was a great idea.
Fortunately here at BC Women's Hospital and Health Centre we have a very supportive management.
We can start that and have that trickle-down effect continue. It's an amazing thing.
As elders, we have to start looking out for our young people and taking them under our wing and teaching them.
Our first meeting with Sharon, our Aboriginal partner, was very interesting.
We had an hour, I think, to cover 50 things about, you know, guest speakers and curriculum and what we were actually going to do. And Sharon spent the first half an hour sharing stories and saying, let's go around the room and share stories. So I was like, oh my God, I can't, like, we have to speed this thing up. We just can't do this. If you're going to choose your Aboriginal partners or whatever partner in whatever cultural group that you're trying to connect with, you need to make sure that that partner is going to speak up, you know, role model, demonstrate in a very nurturing way how it should be done. We wanted to provide incentives to do healthy behavior because we know that that has been shown works. So if we could set up little competitions between the women in terms of, you know, who ate the most fruits and vegetables this week, and then we would have weekly prizes. And when we had broached that topic with Sharon, I'll never forget, she said, well, it was actually colonialization that brought competition to us. We never competed before that. So instead, what we did was we had weekly challenges, but we would give everybody for participating and for trying a smaller token. And that's something that if we didn't have a community partner, we would have completely misstepped.
If it was straight competition, I wouldn't have received a gift. And don't weigh me either.
We didn't see flip charts. We didn't see felt pens and markers.
In the last couple of weeks, we completely did away with the flip charts and the overview. We just sat.
Instead, what we saw were traditional blankets and traditional storytelling.
We had a talking circle, and that just relaxed me because I felt that that was a really easy way for us to transition from where we were at to what we were going to learn.
We each held the feather and we got to share, and we passed that around. And that brought us so close and open, and for everyone, for every person, for every woman there, it was important.
Such a connection, such a simple connection was so important.
I think when women open up and share something, almost magical happens. You're more open and receptive to accept change messages of change and transformation.
there was so much equality and sharing. It became more like a group of women really caring about each other rather than just nurses teaching and facilitating.
And that was something I really appreciated of the nurses, that they could set aside their researcher hats and don their sisterhood hat.
As time went on, I noticed that they were sharing a little more. It was like magic.
They came to be us, part of us.
I don't think people truly get the work and the engagement and the relationships that are involved. I think on paper you'll find that this kind of collaboration has occurred elsewhere, but I'm not quite sure if it's the true collaboration that we had.
Every week a sacred object was brought in and it represented a teaching for that day, and I thought that was so important.
The different symbols could actually mean different things for different individuals. Then they can kind of interpret it for themselves almost, versus a handout is basically the perception of whoever created that handout.
I really like the fact that we started with a prayer, and then Glyda, our elder, she sang a song and drummed.
And offering a gift of singing and to bring the group together for me was a privilege, a real privilege.
Once there was the drumming and the prayer, it kind of shifted to this like different mode of being almost. I can't really explain it any better than that.
I felt that the presence of my grandmother that was with me there, the presence of the Creator as well, it's very powerful.
Generally, in the clinical world, we do something called a PHQ-9, which is a screening for depression. So it's a series of 10 questions that are asked, and then us as a nurse practitioner would know whether they're at risk for depression and whether they should have counseling or medication or that kind of thing. And I also wanted to make sure that it was culturally appropriate to ask such blunt questions. You know, they're hard questions, right? And Sharon had this awesome idea, and I'll never forget this phrase that she had said, was that you know, she was all fine with the PHQ-9 and the depression, but she said when you bring someone into darkness, you then have to leave them with some light. As we answered the PHQ-9 and answered these heavy questions, that we would have seeds for the level of question. So say, how many days a week is it hard for you to get out of bed? And it would be, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And if someone answered 3, then they would collect 3 seeds. And then Sharon had an idea about then taking those seeds and planting them and letting them grow into light.
And we're going to plant them at UBC Garden. And I'm so excited about that. Can you imagine beauty coming out of all of the things that we put the seeds in for?
The rituals, the ceremonies, the spiritual piece, I think that's often missing in other groups that I evaluate and observe. And you know, we saw how important those elements were for the group.
Incorporating ritual and ceremony into our lives can help us open ourselves up to being more healthy, to looking at a different path. And we always participated with the participants, so we were all participants.
I know we were a pilot project, but I think it would be beneficial to all women, especially Aboriginal women.
I would have never known that I had high blood pressure had I not gone to the program and had my blood pressure checked. There would be no way I would have found out.
I started and inspired myself through yoga to get me back into shape, into health. I felt that I needed the ceremony, the drumming.
We give thanks, Great Spirit, for all that we have on this earth. We give thanks, Great Spirit, for all the rituals, dances, and songs.
The grandmothers are with us.
We were all equal and open to sharing, to crying, to being together.
In order to help me, you have to know me.
First Holy Mother, the earth. We give thanks, Great Spirit.
Feathers and stones and cedar bark.
The smell of sweet grass.
Again, I felt this like shift.
Such a connection.
I felt safe to be myself, yeah, my true self.